Disclaimer, I am not a lawyer. UnderWorld Rise of the Lycans is a Sony Pictures film and belongs to Screen Gems, Sketch Films, Lakeshore Entertainment, Sony Pictures, and its respected owners. This video is in accordance with the copyright law and follows 5 points of the fair use clause in the copyright law.
Why doesn't he just obliterate the devil and therefore get rid of evil in the world?
He will.
He will?
Yeah,
what's he waiting for?
Why did you do it?
There is no why.
You are the most fearless warrior I have ever seen. But you will learn to be loyal without the loyalty between us. We are no better than the beasts at our door.
They are the immortal damned, vampire and Lycan. One born into privilege.
Sonia, you risk too much for a father to ignore.
I'm quite capable of looking after myself.
The other bred for slavery.
Lucian, you are a credit to your race.
But all that is about to change.
Sonia, if I were to leave, would you come with me?
My father would hunt you down.
You have stung me with your betrayal.
I've lived by their rules my entire life. I've protected them, envied them, and for what? I had to be treated like an animal. We are not animals! Is this what you want? We can be slaves, or we can be Lycans!
You have defied me for the last time.
Are you with me? I'll kill you! All of you!
It's the return of Spidey's Movie Madness, a week-long event of movie reviews counting down to the review of the highly anticipated Watchmen. So let's get this thing started with the first movie in line, UnderWorld Rise of the Lycans, starring Michael Sheen and Bill Nighy. It's said in the movie community that when a franchise makes a prequel, that means that it's run its course or that it's getting close to it. When studios make a blockbuster hit and run out of fresh ideas, they tend to go back to the well for a cheap, quick dollar, and usually that's the case with movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginnings or Hannibal Rising. But there are exceptions to the rule. My point in all this is that UnderWorld Rise of the Lycans falls victim to this and does it all at the same time. Now, many critics out there have given this movie poor reviews or have been pretty hard on it for various reasons. Now, unlike many prequels, Rise of the Lycans isn't bad. As a matter of fact, it has some very strong moments which I'll get into later on. Now, the main problem with this movie is that it has no purpose existing in the first place. Sometimes movie franchises leave questions which could be answered by prequels, but the first UnderWorld movie left no questions about its past. Everything was basically answered, and we, the audience, knew why there was an ongoing conflict between the vampires and the Lycans. So now comes along this movie going into depth in what we already know of. This movie isn't bad, nor is this a bad story or a bad idea, but we already know its near ins and outs of it, and there's no reason it should be, but nonetheless the movie was made, so let's move on from it. Rise of the Lycans tells the basic story of star-crossed lovers who want to be together but can never be. Think of it like Romeo and Juliet except with vampires and werewolves. Now, this may sound cheesy on paper, but they managed to pull it off fairly well without it coming off as lame or cliche for most of the movie, with the exception of the oddest and most over-the-top sex scene that I have ever seen. I mean, it's not sick or graphic, but when you watch it you may go like, what the fuck? Is that possible? Also, just like in Alien vs. Predator Requiem, Rise of the Lycans is directed by CGI and visual arts man Patrick Tatopoulos, who worked on the special effects in the prior UnderWorld movies, but comes off as weak in the director's chair for this film. The CGI of the Lycans just looks dumbed down compared to the last two movies, as well as the rest of the film's special effects. Slow time shots tend to look cheesy, and the gore scenes are weak and PG-13 like at best, unlike the last two films. Also, the movie is way too dark. I know it's a dark horror movie that mostly takes place at night, but most of the time you can't see what's going on due to the overwhelming darkness. The last two movies took place at night and you could see everything fine and clear, but that's not the case with this film. Tension and mood is also compromised here as there are no real scary or tense scenes like the last two. Now despite all these flaws, the movie does have its very strong moments in the performances of Bill Nighy and Michael Sheen. Both men reprise their roles as Lucian and Victor in their undying war to kill each other. These characters and actors playing them bring extreme interest to the film and are sure to please Underworld fans alike. On top of this, both men's performances admit intensity. Sheen and Nighy carry the movie and bring brilliance to the characters and their story throughout the movie, which makes up for the directing flaws. In the end, the movie's a fair balance of entertainment, even though it's an unneeded movie, and fans of Underworld should enjoy this movie enough to have a good time. Underworld, Rise of the Lycans gets an 8 out of 10.